Welcome to One-on-One with Walt Lascos. In this brief podcast, you'll learn how to most effectively address senior financial exploitation. Now, here's Walt.
Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Walt Lascos. Erik Beguin is the founder and CEO of Austin Capital Bank, which he established by uniting the benefits of an FDIC-insured bank charter with in-house technology development capabilities to solve critical unmet financial needs. He is a two-time federal appointee to the Financial Protection Bureau Community Bank Advisory Council and two-term member of the Community Depository Institution Advisory Council for the Federal Reserve System's Board of Governors. Erik also served for 5 years as chairman of the Community Depository Institution Advisory Council for the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas and contributed to the Texas Banker Association's Future of Banking Task Force. Well, Erik joins us today to talk about the way Austin Capital Bank is taking measures to protect its customers from financial scams, which extend beyond the offerings of many other financial organizations. Erik, welcome to today's conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about this topic, and quite honestly, we can't talk about fraud enough for everybody to learn more about it.
Exactly. Well, Erik, in preparing for this podcast, I've learned that you and I share similar views on scam prevention. For too long now, we've all been told that education is our best tool in the fight to prevent scams. However, while we have been providing scores of educational and training opportunities, losses to scams continues to escalate, which prompts me to believe, and I take it you as well, that we need to advocate for more. We all must do more if we want to turn the table on mitigating financial scams and fraud. So with that said, set the stage for us, Erik. What's your observation of the landscape today when it comes to scams and efforts to safeguard folks from falling victim to their schemes?
Sure. So I agree with you 100% on that, Walt, is that education is necessary, but not sufficient. So we've been educating people and we have community programs for all that, yet scams are increasing by double digits and fraud losses are increasing by double digits every single year. And so I was sitting here, actually, my story in fraud starts about 5 years ago. I was sitting here during COVID and looking at all the government programs rolling out and everybody going online at the same time. And the amount of money that was going to be distributed across our nation in these programs, and it was all going to be done digitally. And I sat back at my desk and I was like, this is just going to be a haven for fraud. And in fact, this is going to be a training ground for digital fraud. And so I think what we've seen is the evolution of fraud moving from the the proverbial hooded hacker in his mom's basement to large multinational corporations in safe haven domiciles like Myanmar, where there are tens of thousands of workers with sophisticated tools targeting Americans and our bank accounts. And so we needed to do more. And so at Austin Capital Bank, myself, we sat back and said, okay, what does more mean? And what more meant for us is reimagining the very foundation of banking technology for our customers.
Very interesting. Well, I think you're right on target with that. When you're talking about like some of these places that are in Myanmar, in Southeastern Asia, they have warehouses of folks that just man the phones, and their job is, and a lot of them, this is against their will. They're held there to make phone calls and to initiate scams, financial scams. And I think the more we realize it, that this is absolutely a very intense and big business today, and something that, we have to think at a high level if we're ever going to achieve any kind of success in mitigating those types of financial scams. Erik, when within the credit union industry, one of the leading sources of news is the CU Daily, and they ran a story talking about Austin Capital Bank is betting through its fintech subsidiary, Fort Knox, that some consumers will choose security over convenience. Talk to us about the factors that prompted your decision to elevate security over convenience in creating what is now called the Fort Knox High Security Savings Account.
Yeah, absolutely, Walt. So, most financial institutions out there, be it banks or credit unions, really have been trying to balance convenience with security, right? And the conundrum there is that those two forces are fundamentally juxtaposed against each other. The more convenient you make it for someone to move their money faster, 24/7, irretrievably to any location, the less secure it is. And the more secure you make funds, the less convenient it is. And so we really sat back and said, look, consumers and small businesses have two sets of money. They have the money that they need convenience for, and that is whatever their expenses are in the next, say, 60 or 90 days. But their savings should not be convenient to access. In fact, they should be highly secured. And so we look at treating those two sets of money very differently. And with Fort Knox, we have created where we think you should keep your savings, which is in a highly secure account that is not readily accessible to yourself or to anyone. And in fact, has security measures that are built into the fabric of the account itself, the architecture of the account itself, in addition to how you access and move funds. And it's completely different than anything else that's out there. And it is, in our opinion, much more secure than anything else that is out there. Well, and I can go into any of the details of that.
Yeah, Erik, I was going to say that makes a lot of sense because, like, first, for example, what you're getting at here is, convenience versus safety. And when you think about it, how many of us, I know I'm one, where you hear your IT professionals say to us all the time, change your password, make it very long, change it every so frequently. And people going, how the hell do I remember all those passwords? Some people write it down and keep it, which is just a giveaway, or they don't choose a very safe password, and that's for their convenience. But then in doing so, they're making themselves more vulnerable. So I mean, your point is well said about finding ways to distinguish. Accounts where, one for the savings of monies that, let's say, you don't need on a very regular basis is placed in some type of an account that is much more secure than, let's say, an account where you might be, paying your electricity bill every month or something of that sort.
That's a great entree to Fort Knox, quite honestly, talking about passwords. Mm-hmm. So, a little known fact, but or maybe not so little known anymore, but usernames and passwords are really insecure. It doesn't matter how fancy you get with your passwords. The reality is, if you're using a system that's reliant on a username or password, you can access that system from anywhere, right?
That's right.
So a username and password, and even two-factor authentication, if let's say an FI is using SMS, text message, to deliver that, it's all really highly insecure. And so username, password, and one-time passcode via text, I could set up a spear phishing campaign, and every American's personal information is readily available on the dark web. See, I could target you, Walt, I would say, Walt.
Erik, I was going to say, do you have IT background? Because I mean, you are hitting every little point precisely on target.
We've spent some time on this, Walt. We've spent some time on it. But I could literally go out and search for you, and then I would search for where you bank, and then I would send out a host of communications to you, whether it be like, hey, you're at Bank XYZ, right? Bank XYZ, hey, we've noticed a suspicious transaction, and I send you a text, click here to review the transaction. Or I'd send you an email, hey, your statement's ready at XYZ Bank, or hey, click here for updated terms and service, like all of these things, right? Mm-hmm. I could spear phish you with really accurate information. And in fact, there was just a case here this last week in Austin where a lady was amazed that she was talking to who she thought was a XYZ big bank representative, and they knew everything about her. And she ended up losing, north of $20,000 because all her information is readily available. So with Fort Knox, well, we took an entirely different approach, and we started building using the Wayne Gretzky approach of not going where we are today, but where is the puck going to be?
Mm-hmm.
So we built a product and platform to protect people from the future of fraud, right? And so it actually starts with there are no usernames or passwords for Fort Knox.
Mm-hmm.
It is all biometric, and it has a host of biometric approaches. So it starts with a device-based biometric. And by the way, it's easier if we're talking about elder financial protection.
Yep.
Remembering all these different passwords and this and that for all the different sites is very difficult. It's much easier to just use your biometric signature for your identity.
Now, Erik, explain for listeners what you mean by biometric.
Well, for this, it might be, it's device specific for device-based biometrics, right? So device-based biometrics on an iPhone is going to typically be your face, right? And it's called Face ID, right? Mm-hmm. And so that puts a pass key on your phone, and so it's device specific, right? With Android, I believe they still use a lot of fingerprint, and that is their biometric approach, right? But that's all device based. So if I get to your device and this happens a lot in London these days, is I steal your device and it's open, or I ask you something and you open your device in front of me and I see your passcode for your device. Today, device-based biometrics are the fallback is typically the passcode for your device. So I can circumvent that. But as a starting point, eliminating username and passwords for someone to defeat device-based biometrics, they have to have your device, and they have to have a way to either pass or bypass the biometrics on your device. So that's a base level of security. Now, with Fort Knox, that's just the beginning level. And the second level is we actually use system-based biometrics for any movement of funds. And also we allow people to customize access both to the movement of funds and to their personal information. Mm-hmm. So with that, it's a biometric means of identification that it doesn't matter what device you're on. We have a way to determine, is it you? So even if somebody stole your phone and your Fort Knox account app was open and your money was sitting there, they still couldn't move it unless they have your face there and are able to pass various tests that we have that help us defeat AI injection and all these other fancy things where someone might try to defeat a liveness test. So our base level security is biometric. But even when you get past all that, the actual account structure keeps your money safe. And that's and I can go into more.
I was going to say that's kind of interesting because that's just the base level of security. I mean, you really have put together what did they call it? A firewall that seems to be rather impenetrable.
Well, we'll find out. We hope so. We really wanted to do something to create, like, as you said, I like your term, like a personal financial firewall. This is a firewall around your life savings, especially in elder people. When they lose their life savings, like they can't replenish.
That's
that.
Right. That's
they,
right.
They
it's
can't
over.
Replenish it.
Yes.
Yeah, they're at the end of their earnings or even past it, and like that is a devastating loss. And so really, when I was building Fort Knox, I imagined like if I save one person or we save one person from losing their life savings, this product is a success because that is a devastating financial loss for someone. And it's not the financial part; it's all the things in their life and their children's lives, their spouse's life, and all of it. So, so I'll go in like I'll share some of this. Like I could go for an hour on all the different security and really the beautiful thing we hope about Fort Knox is that it has all the security, but the user experience is really simple. Right. So a lot of the security is built into the fabric of the account. So we have a thing that we call closed loop. It's called intelligent closed loop protection. So on your normal bank account, in any kind of account, a savings account or a checking account, is really like an airport terminal, right? You can go log on to your banking services provider. And you can add all sorts of accounts, other bank accounts that you can transfer funds externally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like taking your money to the airport, and you can use these funds transfer mechanisms, whether it be instant payments or wires or same day ACH or next day ACH, any of these, and you can send money from one account to any other account in the United States and or beyond, really readily with almost any bank account. And so we think of like normal bank accounts are like the airport. Fort Knox is like a bank at the end of a one-way street with a bank vault and a safety deposit box in it, and that's where you keep your money. And this is, there's only one place money can come into or go to from your Fort Knox account, and that is back to you. So we use open banking technology to create this intelligent closed loop protection. And the way that works is that you link, let's say, a way that we should talk about this is like keep your checking account in your bank and keep your savings in Fort Knox. And so what you might do is link your checking account at your bank, and then you'd open a Fort Knox high security savings account. And then when you do that, we create this loop of for funds transfers, right? Mm-hmm. And so we monitor the money coming from that account into Fort Knox, and the only place that money can go from Fort Knox is back to that account. So even if a fraudster got 100% access to your Fort Knox account, the only thing they can do is send money back to you. They can't send it anywhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And so we actually monitor this, and then we call that the account is in protected status. When that intelligent closed loop cycle is unbroken, it's in protected status. But if that loop is ever broken or compromised in any manner, your account is instantly thrown into what's called lockdown. And then it's exactly what it sounds like, is no money can move in or out of your account. It's lockdown because time and speed are the fraudster's friend, right?
That's right.
The ability to take over an account and move money out in minutes or hours it has caused demonstrated billions of dollars of losses. And with Fort Knox, we instantly lock down that account, right? And we give you time to come and say, like, hey, why did this loop get broken, right? Oh, it was something, in the normal course of business or this or that, or somebody hacked my account at my normal bank and they're trying to access these funds. And we're not going to allow that. And so we put in lockdown. We have a whole bunch of security mechanisms there to protect you. And really, this is really about like slowing down the movement of funds, because this is your savings. This isn't your checking that you need to use to, pay your phone bill tomorrow. This is your savings. You're saving for retirement, for the kids' education, for a vacation, for a car, for a home. Like this money you don't need access to in under 24 hours, right? So we want to hold this money, keep it safe, and slow it down, and give you time to react and protect it. So any withdrawal from a Fort Knox account, you actually schedule 2 days in advance. Like there's no such thing as a same day or instant transfer. And then on top of that, a big weakness of the current banking system is every bank account has an ABA routing number and account number, right? And so depending on somebody's how complicated or sophisticated they are, I can create a debit to someone's account, and I can hit that account with a debit, because the routing number and account number work in all these various systems, right? So when we build Fort Knox, we actually don't even call it an account number. We call it an account identifier. And we created alphanumeric with special character account identifiers. And so you could literally give your Fort Knox account number to somebody on the street, and it's worthless. Yep. It doesn't work in any funds transfer system. It doesn't work in any P2P payment system. You can't use it for anything. So that's just another additional layer of security.
So Erik, what's the plans for the future? Where might you be going from here?
Well, so we've rolled out the consumer version. So today, anybody can go, and anybody in any of the 50 states, this is a US only product. Today, you can go and apply at fortknox.bank. And we use .bank because only an insured depository institution can have a .bank URL. So that protects you from spoofing and phishing. You can go fortknox.bank. You can read all about the product, and you can apply online and open the account and fund the account online, right? So that's for consumers today. But just like consumer fraud is booming, America's small businesses are being targeted by fraudsters too. And there, it's even a larger potential for fraud, because all you have to do is compromise one person in the enterprise, one person in the business, right? So if one person clicks on the wrong link, that business can have their accounts compromised. And so the next thing we're rolling out is high security savings, high security cash reserve account, we might call it, for small businesses, right? And then a little bit beyond that, we're going to start rolling out really specific solutions for specific needs. And one of those, Walt, I know this is near and dear to your heart, is a product and solution for seniors that specifically protects them from financial abuse or fraud. And it'll have some very unique features for seniors that make it really easy for them to protect their savings. And also, let's say, tax refunds, pension, government benefits, these types of flows where they need a safe place to put that money. And it also is going to protect their privacy in that they're not going to have to hand out their account number to receive those benefits. So I know not everybody's really excited to give the federal government their the name of their bank, routing number, and account number. They won't have to with a Fort Knox high security account. We have a very special means for allowing funds to be deposited into those accounts where you don't have to provide that information to anybody, because that's your information, and you shouldn't be required to hand it out.
And that makes perfect sense. I've told the story several times. I'm a senior, and I've told the story several times about how when I was going through all the paperwork to apply for Social Security benefits and all that sort of thing, you're interviewed over the phone. They gather all that information, and then they sent me essentially a transcript in the mail of that conversation. And Erik, wouldn't you know that in this basic, first-class mail that I received from them with that whole transcript, there's my Social Security number, plain as day. And I'm going, oh my God, if that fell into the wrong hands, bingo, they got everything. And this is coming from the federal government. So I mean, it's like we can't. Even there, we're showing how we can't do enough to really protect ourselves. But I think what you're putting together is just remarkable, and it's very well thought out and detailed to really achieve something that's totally different than what, let's say, other financial organizations are doing, whether they be banks or credit unions. Which then, leads me to the question: when you look today at all the banks and the credit unions and what they are doing, to really protect the let's say the sanctity of the accounts that have been entrusted to them by their members and customers, are they doing enough, to meet that responsibility, or, in your opinion, should they be doing more?
Walt, I think most people in this industry, credit unions, community bankers, are really doing the best that they can, right? They really are well-intended people, but I think that they're really constrained by the tools and technology that's available to them, and also just perhaps a limited knowledge on truly how sophisticated fraud is and how it's leaping. The sophistication is leaping forward by leaps and bounds with AI tools and whatnot. So I think they're doing the best they can, but by the fact that fraud numbers are increasing by double digits every year, I think that just is an indication that the entire industry has to do better. It has to do better, and that's really why we built Fort Knox. I don't think we get there with the systems and technology and all that most banks and financial institutions have today. I just don't think you get there, which is why we said, let's go build this from scratch and build it for protecting from the fraud of the future.
And Erik, I have to admit that's what I think is so remarkable about your thinking and what you're doing with with Fort Knox, because it really is taking it to the next level. It's like a paradigm shift. If we keep on looking at this whole problem of how we address scams and fraud the same way over and over and over, we're going to get the same results. But we have to look for new ways. We have to think differently. We have to open our minds to other possibilities. And it's obvious of your attempts to do this is, looking to really bring some success to this whole fight to prevent scams and fraud. Finally, Erik, where can listeners go to learn more about Austin Capital Bank and certainly the Fort Knox High Security Savings Account?
Well, they can go to our websites, which are www.austincapitalbank.com. But really, for the fraud aspect, they should go to www.fortknox.bank. So fortknox.bank and austincapitalbank.com. And there's plenty of information there. And we have a great, domestic-based, U.S.-based customer service that they can contact here. In fact, they sit just a couple of steps away from me. And they can free to call us, and we can help educate them on how they can protect their funds and their financial future.
And also, maybe to cap this off too, and be clear about this, Erik, when it comes to Austin Capital Bank and Fort Knox, you all are constructed to work with any other financial institution in the country, be it a regular bank, be it a credit union, community bank, whatever. That's correct?
Yeah. So you can. Fort Knox account is unique in that it's the only bank account I'm aware of that actually requires you to have an account at another institution. You can't just come in and open a Fort Knox account and like fund it with cash or something. It requires you so that we can form this closed loop protection to protect you. And we'll see that it works with most institutions. There are some institutions that don't have the technological capability to securely connect to a Fort Knox account. And if that's the case, we can give some recommendations of something of an institution that might be close to somebody or convenient for somebody to connect a Fort Knox account to. But we work with most FIs.
Perfect. This is great. I mean, this is, I think, a really good story about somebody doing something here to really mitigate the impact of financial scams and fraud. And Erik, I think it's also something that we maybe look forward to down the road as the whole Fort Knox accounts build up to get a sense from you as to the success of your endeavors.
Walt, I appreciate that. We think that they're going to grow in both number of people protected and in all the products and services we built. Because we didn't just build a high security savings account. We built an entire high security banking platform, and we have a lot of plans for rolling out various products and services to really protect Americans and keep more of this $12.5 billion lost to fraud at home here in the pockets of Americans and in our communities, and not sending it abroad to these fraudsters.
Wonderful. Erik, thank you so much for giving us your time today and for telling us all about Austin Capital Bank and the Fort Knox High Security Account. I appreciate you very much.
Walt, it's been a pleasure.
And thank you all too for being with us today. My appreciation for you taking the time to listen. Be safe.
If you've enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow One-on-One with Walt Laskos wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to send comments to walt@laskoscommunications.com. And to learn more about how you might support the prevention of elder financial scams, visit laskoscommunications.com.